For 50 years of marriage, Sarah Jennings hated my guts. I did everything to please her. I raised our 2 children to be successful pillars of the community. But on our golden anniversary, she still refused to take a single photo with me. The grief was a familiar weight in my chest, but when the speeding car barreled toward me, she was the one who shoved me out of the way. She died to save me. With her last breath, she pulled the wedding ring from her finger. "Leo," she gasped, "if only I hadn't saved you first. What a better life I would have had." At the funeral, our son was inconsolable. "Mom," he sobbed, "you always said you and Uncle Daniel were star-crossed lovers. Dad ruined your life, and you didn't even get to die of old age. At least you can finally be with him." Our daughter's glare could have cut glass. "If it weren't for you, Mom would still be here." "You're a curse, Leo. Why wasn't it you?" "Everyone said I never should have married Sarah. Even I believed it. So I made a deal with the system. I would go back 50 years. This time, I would erase myself from her life completely. I would give them all what they wanted. 1-inch Leo, don't fall asleep. Wake up." A woman's urgent voice cut through the haze. I blinked my eyes open, a ragged cough tearing from my lungs as I inhaled a thick plume of smoke. Twisted steel beams of the factory floor buckled around me. And there, kneeling beside me, was Sarah Jennings, all of 20 years old. It had worked. I was back. 50 years in the past, at the very beginning of it all. In a last lifetime, after the fire at the Millwood textile factory, I'd injured my leg. Sarah had saved me first, but by the time she went back, Daniel Sullivan, in the adjacent workshop, was already gone. She resented me for it for the rest of our lives. Now, I had the chance to fix it. "Come on, hold on. I'll help you out." Sarah's arms stretched toward me. I swallowed the bitterness rising in my throat and pushed her hand away. "Daniel, he's in the East warehouse. Go save him. Hurry." Sarah's hand froze midair, her eyes darting instinctively toward the east. The desperate worry on her face was impossible to miss. But a second later, she turned back, reaching for my arm with renewed determination. "You first. I'll be right." "No," I cut her off, shoving her hand away again. "Sarah, if you don't save him first, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." My life of misery, 50 years of a cold, silent marriage. It all started here. I staggered to my feet. "I can get out on my own. Go now. Daniel's not as strong as me. He won't last much longer." But I didn't wait for her to finish. I dragged my injured leg forward, moving away from her. Behind me, Sarah's footsteps faded as she ran in the other direction. A sad smile touched my lips, but tears streamed down my face without permission. That was the first thread of fate. It had to be broken now. Before I came back, the system told me, "You and Sarah Jennings are bound by 3 tangled threads of fate. Within 3 days of your return, you must sever all 3, and then you must leave. From then on, you'll go your separate ways. You won't marry her, you won't have children with her, and she won't live a life of quiet despair because of you, or die before her time. But every action has a consequence. If you tamper with fate, you will bear the cost." As long as she could live a happy life, I was willing to pay any price. Now, she would save Daniel. I could feel it, a loosening of the bond between us, just as the system described. Bang! The roar of the fire growing closer snapped me out of my thoughts. My steps faltered. The pain in my leg was excruciating, and the smoke was filling my lungs. Just before I blacked out, I felt myself fall into a pair of strong, warm arms. 2-inch water, please." Cool water soothed my raw throat. I slowly opened my eyes. As my vision cleared, the 20-year-old face of Sarah Jennings came into focus. Her fair skin made the dark circles under her eyes stand out. She clearly hadn't slept. "You're awake." Her voice was raspy. Her right hand hovered in the air, as if she wanted to touch me, but didn't dare. I looked away. So, after everything, she was still the one who saved me. I instinctively reached for my left ring finger. There was no wedding band, just a faint impression of 2 remaining threads. I'd done it. Daniel was alive. The first thread of fate was gone. More water. She brought the cup to my lips, her fingers brushing against mine. The contact sent a jolt through me. It reminded me of her last moments, her hands holding my face before she resolutely took off her ring, saying how much better her life would have been without me. I turned my head away, shaking it slightly. She hesitated, her gaze falling to my right leg. Your leg. I'm so sorry. I was too late getting back. A humorless laugh escaped me. In the last life, this fire had left me with a permanent disability. By old age, I was confined to a wheelchair. This time, to push her away, I dragged my injured leg even farther. It was bound to be worse. I tapped the heavily bandaged limb. Does it need to be amputated? I asked, trying to sound casual. Sarah shot up from her chair, her voice trembling. Don't say that. I won't let anything happen to you. I've already contacted a specialist in Charlotte. We'll transfer you tomorrow, even if it costs everything we have. I looked at her, frantic with worry for me, and smiled bitterly. How could I not have loved this version of Sarah? I had known her for decades. She was always like this. Her words were filled with hate, but her heart was softer than anyone's. She didn't love me, yet she spent all her savings to treat my leg. The doctor said I shouldn't take the stairs, so for years, rain or shine, she would meet me after work to help me home. She held my hand as we walked through countless streets. In an age before elevators were common, she supported my weight day after day, helping me up the stairs to our apartment. Her frail shoulders carried my burden without complaint. Sarah was perfect in every way. She doesn't love me. I lowered my head to hide the tears welling in my eyes. Don't worry about it. It has nothing to do with you. By the way, how's Daniel? I changed the subject abruptly. A softness flickered across her face at the mention of his name. He's fine. We got to him in time. He just had some smoke inhalation. Mike even took a picture of him. He was smiling like nothing happened. Really, that's great. Sarah smiled, and I smiled with her. I gazed out the window. The clouds looked like a giant sunflower. I was lost in thought when Sarah waved a hand in front of my face. She smiled. Thinking about sunflowers, aren't you? You love flowers more than any girl I know. There's a whole field of them right outside the hospital entrance. Wait here. I'll go pick one for you. I froze. This was the first time Sarah had ever offered to give me flowers. I fought back the emotion rising in my throat and forced a bright smile. Okay, I'll wait for you. As Sarah left, I traced the outline of her departing figure in the air. This time, I'll be selfish. Tomorrow, I won't stop her. I'll sever the second thread of fate, once and for all. 3 after Sarah left, I noticed something on the floor she must have dropped. Leaning on the wall for support, I forced myself out of bed and limped over. It was a photograph. I bent down to pick it up, and my breath caught in my chest. It was the picture Sarah had mentioned. In it, Daniel was making a funny face at the camera. Sarah, in profile, was looking at him, her eyes filled with the tenderness and adoration I had never once received. I remembered our 50th anniversary. I was wearing a custom-tailored suit, and I had asked her, so carefully, Sarah, can we please take a picture together? Without looking up, she'd replied, there's no point. She seemed to have forgotten that in over 50 years, we didn't have a single photo together. Even our wedding certificate just had 2 separate DMV photos pasted side by side. What I had begged for, he received without even trying. Mr. Foster? A nurse's voice brought me back. You shouldn't be out of bed with that leg. Let me help you back. I turned away to wipe my tears and nodded. I waited until nightfall, but Sarah never came back with the sunflower. Worried something had happened, I asked the nurse if she knew where Sarah was. The nurse gave me a sympathetic look. Oh, she's fine. Ms. Jennings has been in Mr. Sullivan's room all afternoon. They've been having a wonderful time. You can hear them laughing all the way down the hall. Your leg is still inflamed, she added gently. You should get some rest. My smile froze on my face. It was unexpected, and yet completely expected. Sarah never lied to me, except when it came to Daniel. We had been engaged for a year, and I never stopped her from seeing him. It was only recently, after his father was involved in a major public scandal, that I'd asked her to keep her distance. It was a critical time for her promotion and transfer to the main office in Charlotte. She agreed, but always found excuses to see him behind my back. In our last life, she even believed I had intentionally delayed his rescue during the fire. She hated me for it until the day she died. I lay back in bed and closed my eyes. I was still too greedy, wasn't I? Still hoping for a flower that was never meant for me. Deep in the night, Sarah didn't appear, but her parents did. Mrs. Jennings started crying the moment she saw me. "Oh, Leo, you poor dear. How'd you get hurt so badly?" Mr. Jennings saw the empty room and his eyebrows furrowed. "Where's that girl, Sarah? You're seriously injured, and she's not here with you. Where did she run off to?" Their genuine concern made my heart ache. After my parents died, Mr. and Mrs. Jennings had truly treated me like their own son. I had always been obedient, but this time I had to go against their wishes. I pushed myself up and spoke to them earnestly. "Mr. and Mrs. Jennings, I think we should call off the wedding. In a few days, I'm putting in for a transfer to Riverton. Thank you both for taking care of me all these years. I'll never forget it." Mrs. Jennings's eyes widened, and she rushed to my side, grabbing my hand. "Leo, don't be hasty. Riverton is halfway across the country. You don't know anyone there. Why would you make such a sudden decision? Is it because Sarah saved that Sullivan boy first this time? Did it hurt your feelings? Don't you worry. I'll have a good long talk with her. Leo, Sarah really does care about you. The moment she heard about your leg, she had us calling the best hospitals in Charlotte. She's just confused right now. Please don't leave out of anger." In our previous life, after Daniel's death, Sarah had been consumed by grief, and they had said the exact same things to persuade me. The result was 50 years of a hollow marriage that everyone came to regret. I squeezed her hand gently. "Mrs. Jennings, Sarah doesn't have me in her heart. You can't force love. I don't want to get married like this. If we go through with it, I know what our marriage will be like. She'll spend her entire life thinking about the man she truly loves, and I can't bear to see her so unhappy." I had a pause, fighting back a wave of sorrow. Mrs. Jennings sighed. "Leo, after you're married, she'll come to see how good you are." I wiped a tear from my eye and shook my head with a sad smile. "Mr. and Mrs. Jennings, love doesn't just appear with time. I don't want to force her. Let's just call it off." Her parents looked at each other for a long moment, then let out a deep, collective sigh. Mrs. Jennings wiped her eyes. "I suppose it's our family's loss. We couldn't keep a son as good as you." Mr. Jennings patted my shoulder. "When you get to Riverton, if you run into any trouble at all, you call us. Your Aunt Anne, I will always be your family." The tears I've been holding back finally fell. I hugged them both tightly. "I will. Thank you." I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I was sitting in my wheelchair outside the operating room, the light above the door glowing ominously. An hour later, the operating room door swung open. I looked up and met Sarah's shocked gaze. "Leo," she was pale as a sheet, sitting in a wheelchair. "What are you?" Her eyes dropped to my leg, then quickly looked away. "Your leg isn't healed. You shouldn't be moving around." I managed a weak smile and wheeled myself closer to her. "I came to see you." She turned her face away. "How did you know?" A nurse started pushing her toward her room, and I followed silently behind. Once inside, she suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Leo, it's not that I don't want this baby. It's just—" "I know." I interrupted gently. "You did the right thing." Sarah stared at me, stunned. She probably expected me to lash out, to scream, to fall to my knees and beg her to keep our child, just like I had before. In the first life, that's exactly what I did. After Daniel's death, she had collapsed from grief. When she woke up and found out she was pregnant with my child, she was determined to get an abortion. I begged her. I dreamed of having a family of my own. I even brought her parents in to plead with her. Only then did Sarah agree to keep the children. When I woke up yesterday and saw her hand resting on her stomach, I knew she had found out about the pregnancy earlier this time. But without the pressure from her parents, why would she keep a child of mine? I had already guessed she would go through with the procedure. I was just surprised to find out it was scheduled for today. She couldn't wait a single day to get rid of our baby. It was for the best. This would sever the second thread of fate. A bond forged from obligation was just a noose that would eventually strangle us both. "You," she stammered. "Why aren't you angry?" I reached out and wiped a tear from her cheek. "Because it's your choice, Sarah. My only wish is for you to be happy." Sarah gripped my hand tightly. "Don't worry. We can have children again." I slowly pulled my hand away. "It's okay, Sarah. Don't worry about me. You just had surgery. You need a rest. I'll go get you some soup." I turned to leave, tears blurring my vision. She had held my hand with that same desperate strength once before. It was right after the twins were born. Sarah was lying in a hospital bed, our children beside her. She squeezed my hand, tears of joy in her eyes. "Leo, we have children. I'm so happy." We're a happy family of four now. I nodded vigorously, my heart soaring. In that moment, I foolishly believed that Sarah had feelings for me. But just 1 month later, she shattered that illusion. She moved into the spare bedroom, and for the next 50 years, we were husband and wife in name only. This is how it should be, I whispered to the empty hallway. They were an accident. Those children were never meant to be born. But a sharp pain seized my heart, so intense it made me double over. I bit down hard on my lip, but the tears flowed like a broken dam. I was their murderer, too. My first stop was a payphone. I called the factory supervisor to request my transfer. Because my father was a fallen soldier, he approved it without a second thought, telling me to report to the new location within a few days. I bought a container of chicken broth and was walking back to the hospital room when I realized Sarah wasn't there. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind me. "Leo." I turned, and Sarah's hand swung through the air. Crack! The force of the slap sent a shock wave through my jaw. My right cheek instantly began to burn and swell. When the fire happened, you told me to save Daniel first. Well, I got rid of the baby, but didn't say a word. I actually thought you had changed. I should have known you were just waiting for this. Playing the bigger person in my face, then running to my parents so they would go and bully Daniel. He's not strong, Leo. Now he's tried to kill himself. He's in the ER, and they don't have enough blood. Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted? It took me a few seconds to process her words. In the last life, Daniel died in the fire. This time, I had made sure she saved him. I let her end the pregnancy. I called off our engagement. Why would he still try to kill himself? I had been wondering how to sever the third and final thread of fate, the life debt she owed me. Now, the opportunity had presented itself. I touched my stinging cheek. So, you think I'm the one who drove him to this? Sarah flinched, as if surprised by my bluntness. Her voice grew sharper. Am I wrong? Daniel is fighting for his life right now. You should be on your knees outside that operating room, begging for forgiveness. She dragged me down the hall to the emergency room. Nurses rushed back and forth. One of them spoke urgently to Sarah. The patient has lost too much blood. We're out of B positive, and getting more from the blood bank will take too long. He's not going to make it unless we find a donor now. I tugged on the nurse's sleeve. I'm B positive. Take mine. The nurse's face lit up. Thank God, the patient is saved. But we'll need at least 400 cc. Can you handle that? No, Sarah snapped, knocking my hand away. I'll find someone else. You are not playing the hero here. You have your own surgery in 2 days. How are you going to manage? The nurse grew frantic. But the patient is critical. We don't have that kind of time. Sarah looked toward the operating room, her expression pure agony. I understood her desperation. I grabbed the nurse's sleeve again. My leg will be fine, I said quietly. We can postpone the surgery. I'm willing to donate. The nurse looked at me. Are you sure? I pressed a hand against my throbbing leg and nodded slowly. I'm sure. I'll take full responsibility for any complications. Sarah grabbed my wrist again, her grip like a vice. She stared at me, her brow furrowed in conflict. After a long moment, she let go. The nurse wheeled me into the donation room. As she left, she pulled the blanket tighter around me. I owe you for this, she said. I'll make it up to you. After she was gone, they began to draw my blood. As the bag filled, my consciousness started to drift. I thought about the one night Sarah and I had spent together. It was over a month ago. She had gotten incredibly drunk. Her mother asked me to take her a glass of honey water. But when I entered her room, she pulled me down onto the bed, and everything spiraled out of control. Since our engagement, we had only ever held hands once. That night, she kissed me desperately on my lips, my neck. The smell of alcohol was intoxicating, and it made me drunk too. So drunk that when she whispered the name Daniel, I heard Leo instead. It was a chaotic, hazy, and beautiful night for me. The next morning, she said we would get married, and she kept her word. We were husband and wife for 50 years, right up until the moment she died. But I always knew that night was stolen. Now I had to set things right. I had to sever every last tie between us. The blood bag filled, and the pain in my leg intensified until I finally passed out. In that last moment of consciousness, I remembered her dying words, her final, absolute rejection of me. A tear escaped and slid down my temple. Sarah, I whispered, this life, I'm finally letting you go. When I woke up, I was back in my original hospital room. I must have slept for a long time. It was now the afternoon of the third day. It was time for me to go. I called a nurse and asked to use the phone. Not long after I hung up, Sarah came in carrying a thermos. It was full of a thick, dark soup with dates, clearly homemade. I took a spoonful. "Did you make this?" Sarah turned away, but her voice was gentle. "I put a lot of dates in it. The doctor said it's good for replenishing your blood. Daniel is out of danger." "Thank you." I took another mouthful of the soup. "Sarah, that time a year ago, when I fell in the river, if it had been anyone else, you would have saved them too, right?" She paused for a second, then nodded. "Yes, it's my duty." The words were a sharp sting to my heart. Tears welled in my eyes, but I forced my brightest smile. "Then you don't have to thank me. Saving Daniel was something I ought to do. Sarah, a year ago you saved my life. Now, I've saved the life of the man you love. I'd say we're even. Our connection was finally over. I was being foolish before. After my parents died, I clung to you. I wanted a family so badly. I depended on you too much. I forced you to marry me. It must have been painful for you, right? I won't do it anymore. I'm going to change. I will change the habit of loving you, of following you. I won't marry her. She won't have to give up the boy she loves or suffer through 50 years of a miserable marriage. And she won't die trying to save me." A flicker of panic crossed Sarah's face. She opened her mouth to speak, but a nurse cut her off. "Ms. Jennings, Mr. Sullivan is awake, and he's asking for you." I saw the light that ignited in her eyes, a brilliance I had never been the cause of. She stood up hastily, then hesitated, looking back at me. "Go," I said with a smile, as a tear rolled down my cheek. "He needs you more." Sarah stood frozen, her throat working. "Leo, you wait for me." Sarah," I interrupted, my voice as light as a feather. "You have to be happy in this life. Promise me." She looked startled, and an uneasy expression crossed her face. "What are you talking about? Happy? We have our whole lives ahead of us. You just rest. I'll be right back. I have something I need to tell you." With that, she turned and left, her footsteps fading down the hall. I gently touched my ring finger. There would be no later. The third thread of fate was finally broken. I got in my wheelchair and left the hospital. Just outside the entrance, there was indeed a large field of sunflowers, blooming brilliantly in the afternoon sun. Their golden faces were warm and inviting. But I knew I would never receive my sunflower. After comforting Daniel, Sarah rushed back to my room. It was empty. She started to panic. The nurse doing rounds came in and, seeing the empty bed, frowned at her. "Where is Mr. Foster? His leg infection is severe. If he gets out of bed, he could risk amputation. How are you taking care of him?" Sarah stood frozen in the doorway, a buzzing in her ears. "Infection? What infection?" The nurse, startled by her suddenly pale face, stammered, "Just the infection in his leg. When we checked on him yesterday, we found it had gotten much worse." "Much worse?" Leo lied to me. Sarah's breath hitched, and the world started to go dark at the edges. She remembered his pale face, the way his leg trembled slightly when he was giving blood. There were so many signs, and she had missed them all. And at that moment, she had been forcing him to save Daniel. "He lied to me," Sarah murmured. "His leg was in bad shape, and I still made him give 400 cubic centimeters of blood." The nurse's eyes went wide. "400 cc? Are you people crazy? Donating blood would have made the infection so much worse." Sarah's eyes turned red. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault." She collapsed to the floor, overcome with grief. She remembered his weak smile on the hospital bed, the finality in his eyes when he whispered, "Sarah, you have to be happy in this life." She suddenly understood. He had been planning to leave all along. Once he had repaid his life debt to her, he would disappear from her life, taking all his wounds with him. "Where is he now?" she screamed, grabbing the nurse's shoulders. The nurse, terrified by her wild, red-rimmed eyes, stuttered, "I don't know." Sarah scrambled to her feet and ran out of the room, colliding with her parents who were rushing down the hall. "Dad! Mom!" She looked up into their furious faces. Her father's hand came up, and the slap echoed in the hallway. "You fool!" Her mother, eyes red, held out an envelope with a trembling hand. "This is from Leo." Sarah's hands shook as she tore it open. Inside was the emerald engagement ring. "Sarah, the life debt is repaid. We owe each other nothing now. I wish you and Daniel Sullivan a lifetime of happiness. Leo. Where? Where did he go? Sarah asked, her voice a raw whisper. Now you ask? Her father sneered. His transfer to Riverton was approved this morning. The words were barely out of his mouth before Sarah was sprinting away. Her desperate cry echoed down the corridor. Get the car. We're going to the train station. Her father watched her go, sighing heavily. If only she had known. By the time she stumbled onto the platform, the train was already pulling away from the station. Inside the train car, a porter helped me onto the sleeper berth. Chloe Miller carefully placed a soft pillow behind my back. She was my childhood neighbor, 3 years younger than me. The little girl who used to follow me around calling me Big Brother was now a beautiful young woman. Chloe, you really didn't have to come with me. Wherever you go, Leo, I'll go. Here, have some soup. She opened a thermos, and a rich aroma filled the small space. I cooked it for 5 hours. I looked at her bloodshot eyes and suddenly remembered the first life. During those years when I was despised by my own children, only Chloe would visit me regularly, and each time, she brought a thermos of soup just like this one. You silly girl, I said, ruffling her hair. It's not that serious. She stubbornly held a spoonful of soup to my lips, her eyes red. It is serious. You need surgery as soon as we get to Riverton, and even if it goes well, you'll need at least 6 months to recover. Her voice choked. Sarah Jennings is no good for you, Leo. Please, stop loving her. Chloe, I interrupted, taking the bowl from her. It's all in the past. I'm not looking back. Silence fell over the compartment. She turned and pulled a bouquet of sunflowers from her bag. She found an empty can, filled it with water, and awkwardly arranged the flowers on the small fold-down table. Back at the hospital, she had insisted on picking a huge bouquet for me to hold. I had laughed and stopped her. We're not exactly at home. But she had insisted, carefully adjusting the angle of each stem. Because you like them, she had said softly. I was stunned, and tears suddenly welled in my eyes. Someone in this world still remembered that Leo Foster's favorite flower was the sunflower. Not the ones Sarah forgot to pick. Not the ones I could see, but couldn't reach outside my hospital window. But this one, picked just for me, with every stem arranged just so. On the platform, Sarah ran like a madwoman, banging on the window of each passing car. Her hair was a mess, her face streaked with tears. Leo. But the train was picking up speed, heading toward a distant horizon. She fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. The lingering effects of her surgery hit her then, and a sharp pain made her curl into a ball on the cold concrete. She had lost him. She had really lost Leo. 9. When Sarah found me, the magnolias in Riverton were in full, glorious bloom. She stood beneath my apartment building, her eyes red and swollen, clutching a wilted bouquet of sunflowers. It had been 3 months. She had lost so much weight that her cheekbones jutted out sharply against her pale skin. Leo. Her voice was a broken whisper. I'm sorry. I'm late. The transfer paperwork was difficult. I sat in my wheelchair on the porch. The book in my lap slipped from my fingers. She immediately bent down to pick it up, moving so quickly that she banged her knee hard on the concrete steps. It hurt to see her like this. She reached for the blanket covering my legs, but her hand stopped mid-air. Your leg. Does it still hurt? I shook my head. Not anymore. Chloe found a great specialist here. By the way, how is Daniel? Sarah quickly pulled a letter from her coat. Leo, there was never anything between us. I had him write this letter to explain. Sarah, I said softly, cutting her off. You don't have to. I know better than anyone that I'm not the one you love. Don't let me stand in the way of your happiness. Daniel is a good man. You two should be happy together. A petal drifted down and landed on her shoulder. My hand twitched, wanting to brush it away, but I held back. I looked at her bloodshot eyes. There's no future for us. But you and Daniel. You have a long, happy life ahead of you. Sarah shook her head, her voice catching. No, that's not it. That day, you asked me if I would have saved you if it had been someone else in the river. I know the answer now. Her tears fell onto the back of my hand. I would save anyone because it's my duty, but only you. Only you made me afraid. She unbuttoned the top of her collar, revealing an ugly, puckered scar just below her collarbone. I got this when I was pulling Daniel from the fire. But do you know what I was thinking the whole time? All I could think was, I have to get back to Leo. I was so scared. Scared that if I was a second too late, I would never see you again. The sound of a bicycle bell tinkled down the street. Chloe was coming back from the cafeteria with our dinner. She jogged toward us, then skidded to a halt when she saw Sarah. Sarah didn't seem to notice. She pressed her forehead against my hand, her warm tears soaking through my sleeve. I've always loved you, Leo. I was just too stupid to realize it until I lost you. Leo, can you please? Can you give me one more chance? I looked at her red-rimmed eyes and thought of her in another life, pulling the ring from her finger as she lay dying. Her tears had been just as hot then. Sarah, I said, gently pulling my hand away. I brushed the petal from her shoulder. It's all in the past. Chloe cleared her throat loudly. Leo, dinner's ready. Sarah stood up. I won't push you. I'll come back tomorrow. Don't, I said softly. Chloe will take care of me. She stood there for a long time, her shadow stretching out in the setting sun. I could feel her eyes on my back, a heavy weight, long after Chloe had wheeled me around the corner. Sarah came back a few more times after that, sometimes with a bag of brown sugar, other times with pain-relieving patches. Once, during a downpour, she stood outside my building all night. Her colleagues had to practically carry her away the next morning, burning with fever. I never went down to see her. When I did see her from the window, I looked at her as if she were a stranger. Slowly, I began to realize that my memories of Sarah were fading. The first time it hit me was when I pointed to the woman standing downstairs and asked Chloe, "Who's that? Is she waiting for someone? Why is she always standing there?" Chloe's eyes widened. You don't remember her? It struck me then that I was supposed to know her. I could remember everyone else perfectly. They said I had only forgotten her. The strangest part was, while everyone agreed I had forgotten someone, no one could tell me who that person was. I seemed to recall making a deal with someone, or something. I suppose this was the price. One day, Chloe held my face in her hands. Leo, why do you keep staring at your ring finger? I looked down confused. My right hand was rubbing the ring finger of my left, as if something used to be there. But I had never worn a ring. I smiled at her. What do you think? Maybe I'm just impatient to make a certain young lady my wife. She blushed and hugged me, telling me I shouldn't say such things out loud. Not long after, I asked Chloe to marry me. She said yes. I was so happy. I saw the other girl again. The afternoon, Chloe was trying on wedding dresses. I was waiting outside to shop. A thin figure in a white dress stood on the other side of the window. Leo, she mouthed through the glass. I offered a polite smile. Ma'am, do I know you? The life drained from her face. Just then, Chloe burst out of the shop and grabbed her arm. Sarah, you promised you would stay away. Sarah, I repeated the name silently in my head. 3 days later, I was waiting for Chloe under the magnolia tree when she appeared again. This time she was in regular clothes, holding a faded, pressed sunflower. I noticed the jagged scar below her collarbone. She spoke suddenly. March 28th, 1971, the day of the factory fire. You said, if you save Daniel first, you won't regret it for the rest of your life. I blinked, confused. Her hand trembled as she pulled a green emerald ring from her pocket. But I do regret it. Ma'am, I interrupted her gently. You really have the wrong person. Her expression shattered. After a long, silent moment, she turned and walked away. A year later, at my wedding reception, I met Daniel. Mr. Sullivan, what are you doing standing out here in the sun? Please come in. I'd stepped outside for a moment and was surprised to see him by the entrance. His face was pale as always. He was clutching a brown envelope, his eyes fixed on the wedding band on my finger. Leo, do you really not remember her? His voice trembled. Sarah Jennings, your childhood friend, the supervisor at the textile mill. Who? I asked, genuinely confused. Is she one of the new technicians? Daniel stared at me. You remember me. You remember Chloe. You remember Mr. and Mrs. Jennings. But you forget her. I really don't remember, I said. If I've forgotten her, she must not have been very important to me. Tears streamed down Daniel's face. She's dead, Leo. She died last week. Lung cancer. It was only 3 months from diagnosis to the end. The sunlight suddenly felt too bright. I squinted and saw the black border of the envelope peeking through his fingers. It was an obituary. I gently patted his shoulder. I'm sorry for your loss. I turned back toward the party. Chloe was waiting for me to join the toast. I walked over and took her hand. Time moves in one direction. The past is a country to which we can never return. 3 months after Leo left, my transfer was approved. Riverton, my father, slammed the papers on the table. Are you out of your mind? You have a brilliant career ahead of you in Charlotte, and you're throwing it all away to move to some small town. I have to go, I said calmly. Leo is there. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Sarah, Leo has already. He'll forgive me, I interrupted, my voice trembling in a way I hadn't realized. He's always been soft-hearted. My father sighed heavily. And what if he does? What then? You got rid of your baby. He sent back the engagement ring. His words were a knife twisting in my heart. Yes, I had gotten rid of our child. How much pain must he have been in? And still, he had comforted me. The baby that would have been born next spring. The baby that would have called me mom. I had killed that child with my own hands. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. I'll bring him back. But I only saw him once. After that, he refused to see me. I waited outside his building, and one night, a sudden storm broke out. I prayed he would come down, but he never did. After the storm, I collapsed into a feverish unconsciousness. I had a long, vivid dream. In the dream, Daniel had died in the fire, and I had married Leo. I saw our 50th wedding anniversary. He was dressed in a brand new suit, asking me so gently if I wanted to take a picture with him. And I, without even looking up, said, "There's no point." I saw him in his wheelchair, staring at an old photo of Daniel and me from when we were young. His once bright eyes were dull, like glass covered in dust. I saw the car coming, and in that split second, I shoved him out of the way, taking the impact myself. And as I lay dying, I said to him, "Leo, if only I hadn't saved you first. What a better life I would have had." No, that's not right. I screamed in my dream, but no one could hear me. I woke up to my mother, crying by my bedside. "Sarah, let him go," she pleaded. "Please, for his sake, let him go." "He gave you his blood," she said. "He lost his leg for you. His life debt to you has been paid 100 times over." The children from my dream. The world started spinning. Before the fire, Leo and I had spent one night together. He had brought me a drink to sober me up, and in my drunken stupor, I had pulled him into my bed. The next day, I promised I would marry him. But the moment I found out I was pregnant, I chose to end that tiny life without a second thought. Leo never blamed me. And I had forced him, with his injured leg, to give his blood to save Daniel. "Monster," I whispered, and I slapped myself hard across the face, the blow splitting my lip. My mother grabbed my hand in alarm, but I couldn't stop laughing, a hysterical sound that turned into wrenching sobs. 2 lifetimes, and in both, I had failed him. In the first, I tortured him with 50 years of cold indifference. In this one, I destroyed our child, broke my promise, cost him his health, and in the end, even his memories of me. Yes, his memories. A colleague in Riverton told me. Leo remembered everyone but me. The doctors called it dissociative amnesia, the mind's way of protecting itself from extreme trauma. I should have let him go. But every time I tried, the memories of our first life would return in my dreams, tormenting me. The Leo in that world had loved me until his dying breath. The Leo in this world chose to forget me as his punishment. Then I heard the news. Leo was marrying Chloe Miller. I coughed, and a spray of blood splattered on my hand. My mother dragged me to the hospital. Late-stage lung cancer. I laughed until I cried in that sterile hospital room. Why did I have to hold on any longer? I wanted to see him in a tuxedo one last time, but my condition deteriorated rapidly. In my final moments, I thought I saw him again. "Leo, next time, let me be the one to love you."